The establishment is laying a trap. In the 90s, Democrats like the Clintons started to meet with bankers to gather new sources of funding since they were no longer sure that the unions could sustain Democratic campaigns. These new corporate-owned Democrats rose up within the party in a coup-like fashion to take it away from the progressive wing. A new party of elites had taken hold. Who are these corporate-owned Democrats? What should we call them? The neoliberals. The class-conscious representatives of the wealthy 1%. The wealthy 1% are our uncompromising enemies. Their wealth is based upon our poverty. Their joy is based upon our sorrow. Clearly, their class-conscious representatives will be our sworn enemies who will consciously try to destroy our movement. Thus, a party of the enemies of the people has been formed, and it intends to issue an appeal to the Democrats. What do they want? What do they advocate in their appeal to us? They are not progressives. They detest the democratic socialist movement. That means that they are out to strengthen the current election system and are waging a life and death struggle against the 99%. That is why they enjoy so much support by lobbying groups. Nor are they democratic. They detest democratic values. That means that they are out to strengthen the corporate oligarchy and are fighting zealously against the long-suffering American. That is why Debbie Wasserman Schultz has so graciously handed over the nomination to Hillary Clinton by suppressing Bernie Sanders' campaign. All they want is the facade of regulating the corporations, but only to strengthen them through trade deals and monopoly. As regards to trade deals, they must, in their opinion, certainly remain as a reliable wall for the wealthy 1%, which will be used against Main Street America. That is why they are entirely bought and paid for by the corporations, who want a charade constitution with a corporate oligarchy. The neoliberals have no objection to the people being granted some progressive rhetoric, provided, however, that the representatives of the people remain powerless to do anything about our grievances. The DNC has certainly exerted all efforts to modify the campaign process and decisions of the people. That is why they schedule debates at times they know nobody will watch. The neoliberals will be very glad if freedom of speech remains so dear a value, provided that the freedom to act in our convictions is suppressed. That is why they talk so much about the rights of the people, man and the citizen. But they say nothing intelligible about freedom to actually change things, except for hypocritical prattle about obscure economic reform. Nor do these strangers withhold their charity from those they meet on the campaign trail. They have no objection to reform in the election process, antitrust laws, or universal health care, provided, however, Americans are satisfied with the pretense of change and the imitation of democracy. You will see how benevolent these sorry elites are. If they do, in fact, see all these wishes carried out, the result will be that the powers of the corporate oligarchy will remain the status quo, and the work of all politicians will be to fight on behalf of the 1% indefinitely. This is what both parties are now driving at. That is why they are haunted by the democratic socialist movement of Bernie Sanders, even in their sleep, and talk about Hillary Clinton on primetime. It is not surprising, after all, that these elites place such great hopes in the Citizens United. As we know, Citizens United is the negation of the People's Revolution, and this is very much to the advantage of our neoliberal friends. Citizens United provides constant revenue for both the politicians and their wealthy 1% friends. To get elected, this is exactly what our neoliberal friends need so badly. That is why the DNC has based all of its conduct on the assumption that you can only win with corporate money and super PACs. Campaign finance reform would inevitably lead to the collapse of all of their plans. That is why they are so frightened by the Sanders campaign and commitment to reform. It would be a great mistake to run a grassroots populist campaign, they say through the mouths of their leaders. It will indeed be a great mistake, but for whom? The people or the people's enemy? That is the question. What is the function of the current election process? What does the neoliberal have to say about this? Their rhetoric may claim that they will reform it in some way. Obama said that the voters must choose their politicians, not that the politicians choose their voters. What is to be the nature of this reform? The corporations should use the TTP to have a decisive vote in framing laws and in the discussion of the federal laws and the right to control our state laws. In other words, the elites must primarily demand massive amounts of money from the 1%. So that is what the reform of elections will really be. Who will donate most of the elections? Mainly the 1%. Clearly, any reforms will mean strengthening the 1% hold in elections. And so the DNC advises the people to elect neoliberals with the current election system and instruct them to help strengthen the 1% after they have come to power. First of all, and most of all, it appears we must take care to strengthen our enemies and with our own hands. That is what the neoliberals are advising us to do today. It's very friendly advice, we must say. But what about the rights of the people? Who is to take care of that? Oh, the neoliberals will not forget about the rights of the people. You can be sure about that. They assure us that when they get elected and when they entrench themselves into the presidency, they will demand rights for the people afterwards. And with the aid of hypocritical utterances of this kind, the DNC hopes to achieve their aim. So that is why they are advising us primarily to vote for corporate-owned candidates like Hillary Clinton. Whatever the enemy advises us to do is harmful for us. The enemy advises us to support the corporate candidate. Clearly, a corporatist will be harmful for us. What we must do is to undermine the confidence of the neoliberals and discredit it in the eyes of the people. What we need is not the continuance of for-hire politicians, but extension of the rights to the people to elect their candidates. And if the enemy talks sweetly to us and promises indefinite rights, it shows that she is laying a trap for us and wants us with our own hands to build a fortress for her. We can expect nothing better from these neoliberals. What can we say about certain democratic socialists who are preaching the pragmatic tactics of the neoliberals? That we shouldn't attack Hillary just in case she is the nominee? What will you say about the media which repeats word for word the insidious advice of our enemies? This, for example, is what the media says. Only establishment candidate is electable. This is exactly what the neoliberals deem necessary. The same media advises us Hillary is a progressive, like Obama, who is more electable. We must go with the sure and pragmatic choice to compel independents and minorities to turn out to vote. In other words, even if only the 1% control the electoral cycle, we must still turn out to vote for a candidate that we owe nothing to. Even if our progressive values are undermined, we must still turn out to vote for this corporatist. Needless to say, if elections continue to be handed to neoliberals, the election of progressive candidates will remain an empty phrase. As I've already stated in the past, the neoliberals preach the same things as Republicans. One of two things: either the neoliberals have become corporate-owned, or the 1% unknowingly has given money to Republicans and Democrats. Be that as it may, there can be no doubt that this banker-owned party of the neoliberals is skillfully laying a trap. What we must do now is destroy this trap, expose it for all to see, and wage a ruthless struggle against the establishment enemies of the people.